Welcome to the final part of the Maton Flamingo tribute practice build with pine and ply. Since I already have a video on wet sanding, I will save you the boredom of that process in any further projects I upload. So this is all wet sanded and ready to go. Because of how the orange peel turned out, this only took around 4 hours to wet sand up to 2000 grit. I'm using the same polishing tools as in my first project. I would have washed out the foam face on the attachments to remove any of the past compound with soap and hot water. At this point, this would be the third guitar I have buffed out using the same pad. I was in the shop the other day and had a look at how much this buffing pad pack costs, and it's around 40 Australian dollars. With this technique, I am always moving the buffing pad around the body and not leaving it in the one spot for too long. 2 hands on the drill, as it is easy to lose control because the pad will put itself into an uncontrollable spin out if you don't have a hold of it firmly. I use this drill bit because it is quite old, and if it burnt out because of the resistance, it could be replaced fairly cheaply second hand. A drill like this could probably be picked up second hand for about $10 or $20. Just with that amount of buffing, the surface should have come up nice and shiny already. You can see the reflection of the corrugated tin roof above me. There you have it, almost a mirror finish just after 3 minutes of buffing. You can see the dimples in the lower part on the body. These are imperfection in the layers of paint below. I always like to do the back first before the front because if anything is going to go wrong, I would rather it happen to the back than the front. I have the body on one of those non-slip rubber mats for when you were working on something and don't want it sliding around your work surface. As you can see, this body is not moving much at all, and it's not likely to fly off the table at any time. I have added the cloth to it because of all the ridges on the rubber mat, and I didn't want the ridges pushing into the freshly polished surface, which can become impressionable. You don't really need to push down hard. As long as the buffing pad is touching the body, that's all that needs to happen for the compound and the pad to do the job. This is how I do all my guitars. Since I don't have a professional buffing wheel, I don't have any other tools to do this with, and find that the results from this method turn out perfect every time. I can't ask for anything more than a mirror reflection in the finish, and all the scratch marks from the sanding are gone. I quite like how the red acrylic paint turned out under the poly for a bit of a gamble. Changing over to the cone-shaped buffing attachment to do the sides around the horns. As I mentioned in previous videos but not actually done, is tape off the chuck on the drill in case I drop the drill down past the buffing attachment. It would tear through the poly, paint and maybe wood if it fell onto the guitar while spinning. Wrapping cloth around it and taping it up would soften any blow that would occur if this were to happen. It would be like being punched with a boxing glove as compared with a bare fist. Hit me with a boxing glove any day. I definitely find these buffing attachments highly effective and are my tool of choice for buffing the sides of these guitar bodies. Anything it touches becomes well buffed only after a few passes, at least to where it needs to be. As you can see, I use the whole edge of the cone-shaped attachment, and for the more open areas, the larger, less worn end of the cone. I find that the middle becomes matted quickly because it's used most around the horn. Here I change over to the cylinder wheel to do the sides that don't need the smaller radius, and this one was new and as fluffy as you would want a buffing tool to be. So here is the final look of the buffing process. Here I am inserting screws to hang the body up straight away so nothing touches the surfaces while it cools off. Buffing can cause the polyurethane surface to become impressionable for a period of time. I give it 24 hours of hanging just to be sure. The main electrical harness and pickup that you saw earlier were moved across to the main Flamingo build. I did try the 3-volume 1-tone configuration again for this one, but this configuration did not work for some reason. Turning the volume down on one would turn them all down. Obviously I made a small but important mistake when wiring it up. Instead of putting more time into figuring it out, I decided to steal the 5-way switch from the Chili Pepper Project guitar. I changed the wiring over to a basic Strat style wiring and replaced the first volume knob location with the switch. Hand drilling and chiseling was how I chose to remove the material required and make the switch fit under the pickguard. To gauge the required depth, you take the height of the switch and take the whole depth down the same amount, including clearance for wiring. Changing to the switch style was a good idea to make the controls easier or more familiar to use. I am considering doing the same for the main Flamingo project. The P90, the single coil and the bucker sound a bit chimey when used together, so a switch will keep them in combinations that sound good. What ended up in this guitar was the humbucker from a guitar that I got for free. The single coil pickup came out of the original pickguard from the Squire Sunburst project, and the P90 came in a set of the 2 from China, and the other one went across into the main Flamingo project. The P90 is the only pickup that would make this guitar sound like the other Flamingo tribute I built later. The last time I played it, the humbucker wasn't working. I will have to open it up and see what's going on sooner or later. The additional section of the pickguard that surrounds the P90 pickup was not a decision by choice. It was a fix for a mistake I had made when I tried to freehand the pickup holes with the router. The router blade grabbed the 3-ply plastic, tore it into the side and chunked out a noticeable section. To cover up that accident, I replaced the area with the rectangle piece that surrounds the P90, and it requires its own screws to hold it in place. This guitar kept the plywood pickguard and received the new second-hand neck from a Squire that swapped in perfectly without making any changes to the screw holes or neck pocket. The plywood pickguard really suits this red colour and seemed out of place on the other Flamingo tribute. When I installed the new set of strings, I used a method that I had learnt from a John Frusciante rig rundown. His tech explained how they wrap the strings for the old 62 Strats so they don't slip and go out of tune. I'm sorry there's no sound demonstration of this project at the end of the video. I promise one day soon there will be a demo for each of my project guitars. Right now these videos are focused more on the design, creation and my experience. I hope you check out the main Flamingo build because this is just the trial run. Thank you for watching, leave a like to show your appreciation, and until next time, have a bloody good one.